The notification chimed at exactly 5:17 a.m., cutting through the silence of our bedroom like a blade through paper. I'd been awake for 20 minutes already, staring at the ceiling and listening to Natalie's breathing beside me. Shallow, restless, the kind of sleep that comes when your conscience is working overtime. Spent the night at work. Don't wait for me. I read the text 3 times before the irony hit me. She wasn't even home to send it. The bed beside me was cold, sheets undisturbed except where I'd been tossing and turning since midnight. My name is Alex Bishop, and I'm an IT consultant in a mid-sized city outside Boston. I fix computers for a living, which means I understand systems, how they work, how they break, and most importantly, how to trace every digital footprint someone leaves behind. It's a skill that's about to become very useful. I typed back, "Perfect. I'll be at your boss's wife's place." The response came within seconds. "What?" Then my phone started ringing. I let it go to voicemail, poured myself coffee, and settled into my chair by the window. The sunrise painted everything golden, and I had a perfect view of our driveway. Empty, just like I knew it would be. Natalie burst through the front door 3 hours later, still wearing yesterday's clothes, her usually perfect blonde hair disheveled. Her green eyes were wide with panic, and she clutched her phone like a lifeline. "Alex, we need to talk." I looked up from my laptop, feigning surprise. "Morning, honey. Rough night at the office?" "Don't play games with me. How did you find out about Eric's wife?" "Eric Dalton?" "Her boss. 40 years old, married to a sharp-tongued lawyer named Tara, and apparently the reason my wife had been working so many late nights lately." "Find out what exactly?" I kept my voice level, curious. Natalie's face went pale. She'd just confirmed what I'd only suspected. The beautiful thing about guilty people is they always assume you know more than you do. Nothing. Never mind." She tried to backtrack, but it was too late. "I'm going to shower." As the bathroom door slammed, I opened her laptop. Natalie had always been careless with technology, treating passwords like suggestions rather than security measures. She used the same one for everything, our anniversary date plus her maiden name. The folder labeled Contracts wasn't hard to find. It contained everything I needed: steamy emails with Eric dating back 6 months, hotel receipts, restaurant reservations, and one video file that made my stomach turn. She hadn't even bothered to use incognito mode. I copied everything to a secure drive, then closed the laptop. The shower was still running upstairs. My phone buzzed with a text from Dave, my best friend, and the only person who'd ever questioned my choice in wives. "Beer tonight? You sound like you need it." I hadn't talked to Dave in 3 days, but he had a bartender's intuition for these things. "Rain check," I typed back. "Got some research to do." The shower stopped. Natalie's footsteps creaked across the bedroom floor above me. In a few minutes, she'd come downstairs, probably with some elaborate story about client emergencies and all-night strategy sessions. She'd kiss my cheek, make coffee, and ask about my day with that practiced smile that had fooled me for months. But not anymore. I opened my email and started typing. The first message went to Jessica Martinez, Natalie's closest friend and biggest gossip in their social circle. The subject line read, "Concerned husband, need advice." "Hi, Jess, this is Alex. I hope you don't mind me reaching out, but I'm worried about Natalie. She's been working very late with her boss, Eric, and I found some concerning messages on her laptop. I'm probably overreacting, but as her friend, I thought you should know she might be in over her head with this guy. I've attached some screenshots. Can we talk? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories." I attached 3 of the milder emails, nothing explicit, but enough to plant seeds of doubt. Then I sent similar messages to Monica Chen, another friend in their circle, and posted anonymously on the city's most popular gossip forum with the subject, "Local PR executive having affair with married boss?" By the time Natalie came downstairs in fresh clothes and full makeup, I'd lit the first match. Now I just had to wait for the fire to spread. "Coffee smells good," she said, kissing my cheek exactly as I'd predicted. "Sorry about this morning. Big client crisis. You know how it is." "Of course," I said, closing my laptop. "Just glad you're home safe?" She smiled, but I caught the relief in her eyes. She thought she'd dodged the bullet. She had no idea I was just getting started. The first explosion came at 11:30 a.m. Natalie's phone started buzzing like an angry wasp while she was in a client meeting. I watched from my home office as notification after notification lit up her screen on the kitchen counter. She'd forgotten it in her rush to seem normal. Jessica had shared my concerned husband email with half their social circle. The gossip forum post had already gotten 47 comments and been shared to 3 local Facebook groups. I'd created a perfect storm of whispered speculation, and Natalie was walking into it blind. When she came home for lunch, her face was ashen. My phone's been going crazy," she said, scrolling through dozens of missed messages. "Jess wants to meet for coffee. Monica's asking weird questions. What did you do?" "Me? I've been working all morning." I gestured to my computer setup. "Why? What's wrong?" She stared at me for a long moment, then locked herself in the bathroom. I could hear her making frantic phone calls, her voice rising with each conversation, but Natalie was smarter than I'd given her credit for. By evening, she'd launched a counterattack. My phone rang at 7 p.m. It was my colleague Jim from the consulting firm. "Alex, buddy, I hate to ask this, but did something happen between you and that receptionist at the Morrison account? I'm getting some weird calls." "What kind of calls?" "People saying you've been inappropriate with female clients, making them uncomfortable. Look, I know it's garbage, but HR wants to see you Monday morning." I hung up and checked my social media. Someone had created fake screenshots of text conversations between me and various women, crude, inappropriate messages that I'd never sent. The Photoshop work was amateur, but convincing enough to plant doubt. Natalie emerged from the bathroom looking refreshed, almost triumphant. "Everything okay?" she asked sweetly. "You look upset?" "Just work stuff." She nodded sympathetically. "Well, I'm meeting the girls for drinks. Don't wait up." After she left, I called Dave. "I need a favor," I said when he answered. "Remember Kelly from your bar? The one who works at the Marriott downtown?" "Yeah, what about her?" "Can you ask if she remembers seeing Natalie there, specifically with a tall guy, salt and pepper hair, expensive suits?" Dave was quiet for a moment. "Alex, what's going on?" "My marriage is over. I just need proof." 20 minutes later, Kelly called me directly. "Dave said you needed to know about your wife. Listen, I didn't want to get involved, but I've seen her at the hotel bar maybe 6 times in the past 2 months, always with the same guy. They're close. Real close. I can meet you tomorrow if you want to talk." I met Kelly at a coffee shop the next morning, and she was nervous but willing to help. "I feel terrible about this," she said, "but I saw them together last Tuesday. They were all over each other at the bar, then went upstairs. I remember because she was wearing this red dress and laughing really loud. The guy kept calling her baby and talking about some promotion he was going to give her. I recorded our entire conversation on my phone, legally, since Massachusetts is a one-party consent state. That afternoon, I sent the recording to 2 people, Tara Dalton, Eric's wife, and Margaret Stevens, the senior partner at Eric's firm. Then I sat back and waited. The call came at 6 p.m. "Mr. Bishop, this is Tara Dalton. I think we need to talk." Her voice was ice-cold and razor-sharp, the voice of a lawyer who just discovered her husband's latest betrayal. "I think we do," I agreed. "Tomorrow, 2 p.m., Café Luna on Elm Street. Come alone." The line went quiet, and I smiled for the first time in weeks. Phase 2 was about to begin. Café Luna was the kind of place lawyers met to discuss cases they didn't want overheard, small tables, high ceilings, and enough ambient noise to cover quiet conversations. Tara Dalton was already waiting when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth with her back to the wall. She was striking in that severe, professional way that made men nervous and witnesses truthful. Auburn hair pulled into a tight bun, navy suit that probably cost more than my monthly salary, and eyes that could dissect a lie from 50 feet away. "Mr. Bishop," she didn't offer to shake hands. "Please sit." I slid into the booth across from her, suddenly feeling underdressed in my jeans and polo shirt. "Thank you for the recording," she said without preamble. "It confirms what I've suspected for months." "This isn't Eric's first time?" Tara's laugh was bitter. "Eric has cheated on me 4 times that I know of, always with subordinates, always with promises of promotions and career advancement, and somehow he always manages to make it the woman's fault when things fall apart." She opened a leather portfolio and slid a photograph across the table. Eric and Natalie at a restaurant, his hand on her thigh, both of them laughing. "I hired a private investigator 3 weeks ago," she continued. "Your wife isn't just having an affair, Mr. Bishop. She's being used. Eric has no intention of leaving me. I'm worth too much to his career. He's planning to dump her after the quarterly review and claim she seduced him to get ahead." The information hit me like a punch to the gut. Natalie wasn't just cheating. She was being played by someone even more manipulative than she was. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I want Eric destroyed. Not divorced, destroyed. His reputation, his career, his standing in this community. I want him to lose everything, just like he's made those other women lose everything. Tara leaned forward, her voice dropping to a whisper. The firm is hosting their annual gala next Friday. Black tie event, all the city's elite, local media coverage. Eric is being honored for his leadership and integrity. Your wife is receiving an award for Employee of the Quarter. Sounds like the perfect place for a public relations disaster. Exactly. She smiled, and it was terrifying. I have the guest list, the seating chart, and access to the AV system through my firm's tech support contract. You have the evidence. Together we can orchestrate something neither of them will recover from. I thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. What do you need me to do? Leave that to me. Just be ready to act when I give the signal. We spent the next hour planning. Tara had resources I couldn't have imagined, legal connections, media contacts, and a detailed knowledge of Eric's vulnerabilities. She also had something else, a burning desire for revenge that matched my own. One more thing, she said as we prepared to leave. Eric is going to try to intimidate you. He's done it before. Don't let him. What do you mean? He has ways of making problems disappear. People who threaten him tend to find themselves facing harassment charges, or suddenly audited by the IRS, or mysteriously fired from their jobs. Be careful. I drove home with my head spinning. This was bigger than just catching my wife in an affair. I was going up against someone with real power, real connections, and a history of destroying people who got in his way. But I had advantages too. I understood technology in ways Eric couldn't imagine, and I had Tara, who knew all his secrets and had the legal expertise to protect us both. When I got home, Natalie was in the kitchen making dinner, humming softly to herself. She looked almost radiant, probably riding high from whatever afternoon rendezvous she'd just returned from. Good day? I asked. The best. Eric says I'm definitely getting that promotion. He thinks I have real executive potential. The lies came so easily to her now. I wondered if she'd always been this good at deception, or if Eric had taught her. That's wonderful, honey. You deserve it. She beamed at me, then went back to chopping vegetables. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Tomorrow, 6 a.m., Gold's Gym on State Street. We need to chat. E. Eric wanted to meet. Tara had been right. He was moving to intimidate me, I typed back. See you there. Let him come. I was ready. Gold's Gym at 6 a.m. was nearly empty. Just a few dedicated fitness enthusiasts and one very angry executive. Eric Dalton was already on the treadmill when I arrived, his expensive workout gear pristine despite the sweat on his forehead. He was exactly what I'd expected. Tall, silver-haired, with the kind of artificial confidence that came from years of corporate success. The kind of man who viewed other people as either assets or obstacles. Alex Bishop, he said, stepping off the treadmill. We need to talk. I figured that's why you invited me. He led me to an empty corner near the free weights, away from the few other early morning exercisers. I understand you've been spreading rumors about me and your wife. Have I? Eric stepped closer, using his height advantage to loom over me. Let me be very clear about something. I've built my career on making problems disappear. People who threaten my reputation tend to find themselves in very uncomfortable situations. Audit investigations, harassment allegations, sudden job losses. You understand? I looked up at him calmly. Are you threatening me? I'm educating you. Natalie is a valued employee who's been working hard to advance her career. If you can't handle your wife being successful, that's your problem. But if you continue spreading lies about either of us, it becomes my problem, and you don't want to be my problem. Interesting perspective, I said. Tell me, does your wife know about your educational methods? Eric's face darkened. Leave my wife out of this. Funny, I was going to say the same thing about mine. But that ship has sailed, hasn't it? For a moment, I thought he might actually take a swing at me. Instead, he smiled, the cold, predatory smile of a man who'd crushed better people than me. You have no idea what you're dealing with, he said. Back off, or I'll destroy you. Good talk, I replied. Oh, and Eric, you might want to change the password on your burner phone. Password 123 isn't very secure for a man in your position. I walked away before he could respond, leaving him standing there with his mouth open. I didn't actually know his password, but the look on his face suggested I'd hit close to home. The rest of the week passed in a blur of preparation. Tara and I met twice more, refining our plan and coordinating our attack. She'd gained access to the gala's presentation system through her law firm's tech support contract. I'd prepared a multimedia presentation that would leave no doubt about Eric and Natalie's relationship. Friday evening arrived gray and drizzling. Perfect weather for what we had planned. The Riverside Convention Center was lit up like a Christmas tree, with valets parking luxury cars and guests in evening wear hurrying through the rain. I'd rented a tuxedo for the occasion. If I was going to destroy my wife's life, I was going to look good doing it. Natalie had left early to help with setup, wearing a stunning red dress that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. She'd been glowing all week, talking constantly about the award she was receiving and the speech she'd prepared. "This could change everything for us," she'd said that morning. "Eric thinks I could be running my own department within a year." "I'm sure he does," I'd replied. The convention center was packed with the city's elite, politicians, business leaders, society types who lived for events like this. I found my assigned table near the back and settled in to wait. Tara was seated at the head table with Eric, playing the role of the supportive wife perfectly. She caught my eye once and nodded almost imperceptibly. The evening's program began with dinner and the usual round of corporate speeches. Eric took the stage to thunderous applause, accepting his award for leadership and integrity with practiced humility. "I've always believed that success comes from empowering others," he said into the microphone, "building strong teams, mentoring talented individuals, and creating opportunities for growth." The irony was suffocating. Natalie's turn came after dessert. She practically floated to the stage, radiant with success and anticipation. The presenter introduced her as an outstanding example of dedication and professional excellence. "I want to thank my mentor and supervisor, Eric Dalton," she began, looking directly at him. "Without his guidance and support, none of this would have been possible." That was Tara's cue. She excused herself from the head table and disappeared toward the AV booth. "I've learned so much about what it takes to succeed in this industry," Natalie continued, "about the importance of building relationships, going above and beyond expectations, and always being willing to put in those extra hours when necessary." The audience murmured appreciatively. Several people were recording with their phones. "In fact," Natalie said, "I'd like to share some of the lessons I've learned over the past few months." She clicked her presentation remote, expecting to see her prepared slides. Instead, the massive screen behind her filled with an email exchange between her and Eric. "Eric, last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about what you did to me in that hotel room. When can we do it again? N." The room went silent. Natalie spun around to see what was on the screen, her face going white with horror. The slides continued automatically. Hotel receipts, restaurant reservations for two, text messages with increasingly explicit content. "Turn it off," Eric shouted, jumping up from his chair. But the presentation was just getting started. The next slide was a split-screen comparison. Natalie's "I love you" text to Eric, paired with Eric's message to another woman from 2 months earlier. "You were fun, but it's time to move on. Don't make this complicated." The room erupted. Gasps, whispers, the flash of camera phones capturing every moment. Natalie stood frozen on stage, tears streaming down her face, as her most intimate secrets played out in high definition. The final slide was simple text. "Ask Eric about Jennifer, Michelle, and Sandra. Ask him how many other mentoring relationships he's had." Natalie fled the stage, pushing through the crowd toward the exit. Eric was shouting at the AV technicians, demanding they shut down the system. Tara stood up at the head table, her voice carrying across the chaos. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to announce that I'm filing for divorce from my husband Eric Dalton, citing his serial infidelities and pattern of harassment in the workplace." She paused, letting the room absorb her words. "The evidence you've just seen represents only a fraction of his misconduct. My law firm will be conducting a full investigation into his abuse of power and exploitation of female employees." The room exploded into chaos. Reporters were making phone calls, guests were recording everything, and Eric stood in the middle of it all, watching his life implode in real time. I slipped out during the confusion, following Natalie into the parking lot. She was leaning against a car, sobbing into her phone. "Mom, it's ruined. Everything is ruined. Someone sabotaged my presentation, and now everyone thinks I can't go back in there." She saw me approaching and ended the call. "You," she said, her voice shaking with rage. "You did this. I just gave people the truth. You destroyed me. Do you have any idea what you've done? I've done exactly what you and Eric did to me. The only difference is I did it in public." She slapped me, hard enough to leave my ears ringing. "I hate you." "Good," I said, pulling out my phone to record her breakdown. "Now you know how I felt." I walked away, leaving her standing in the rain, and drove home to wait for the next phase to begin. The video went viral before I even made it home. Someone at the gala had live-streamed the entire presentation, and by morning it had been shared thousands of times across social media. Local news stations picked up the story, turning Eric and Natalie into the city's most infamous couple overnight. Natalie didn't come home that night, or the next. When she finally showed up on Sunday afternoon, she looked like she hadn't slept in days. "I've been fired," she said without preamble. Morality clause. "They're saying I violated company policy by having a relationship with my supervisor." "I'm sorry to hear that." She laughed bitterly. "No, you're not. You're loving this." She wasn't wrong. Watching her world crumble was more satisfying than I'd imagined. "Eric's been fired too," she continued. "The board called an emergency meeting. Tara's law firm is representing 3 other women who say he harassed them. His wife is taking everything in the divorce." "Sounds like justice to me." "Justice?" Natalie's voice rose to a shriek. "You ruined both our lives over what? Some text messages, some hotel receipts. So what if I was having an affair? Marriages end, Alex. People fall out of love. It happens." "You're right. But they don't usually broadcast their lies on social media while trying to destroy their husband's reputation." Her face went pale. She'd forgotten about her counterattack, the fake screenshots she'd circulated to make me look like a predator. "That was different. I was protecting myself." "By trying to destroy me first? By making people think I was harassing women? How is that different from what I did to you?" She had no answer for that. My phone rang. Natalie's mother, probably calling to scream at me for destroying her precious daughter's life. I let it go to voicemail. "You can't stay here," I said. "I want you out." "This is my house too." "Not anymore. Check your email. I filed for divorce. You can contest it if you want, but given the evidence of your infidelity, I don't think you'll get much." She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. "Who are you? This isn't the man I married." "You're right. The man you married was a fool who trusted his wife. Consider this an upgrade." She left that afternoon, taking only what she could fit in her car. I watched from the window as she loaded suitcases, probably heading to her mother's house or maybe Jessica's couch. The next few days brought a parade of consequences. Eric's company launched an internal investigation and found evidence of multiple affairs, all following the same pattern. Promises of advancement in exchange for relationships, followed by abandonment when the women became inconvenient. The local newspaper ran a series of articles about workplace harassment and abuse of power. Eric became the poster child for everything wrong with corporate culture. But Eric wasn't going down quietly. On Wednesday, I received a certified letter from a law firm I'd never heard of. Eric was accusing me of cyber-stalking, harassment, and invasion of privacy. He claimed I'd hacked his personal accounts and violated federal computer crime laws. The evidence was impressive. Doctored emails showing me threatening him, fake IP logs suggesting I'd broken into his systems, even a witness statement from someone claiming to have seen me following him. I called Tara immediately. "Don't worry," she said when I explained the situation. "Eric's done this before. He tried the same thing with Jennifer Morrison 2 years ago when she threatened to expose him. I have documentation of his pattern of false accusations. Can he make this stick?" "Not a chance. I've already contacted the prosecutor's office. They're not interested in pursuing charges based on obviously fabricated evidence. Plus, I have security footage from my office building showing Eric meeting with the same IT consultant he used to frame Jennifer." True to her word, Tara's legal connections shut down Eric's counterattack within days. The prosecutor's office issued a statement saying they'd found no credible evidence of cyberstalking, and Eric's lawyer quietly withdrew the complaint. But the damage to Eric's reputation was complete. The failed frame-up attempt became another news story, painting him as a desperate man willing to commit perjury to avoid consequences. Meanwhile, Natalie was discovering that her former friends weren't as loyal as she'd thought. Jessica gave an interview to a local blogger, revealing years of gossip about Natalie's manipulative behavior and cruel treatment of coworkers. "She always acted like she was better than everyone else," Jessica said in the video. "Like the rules didn't apply to her. I guess we know why now. She was sleeping her way to the top." Monica followed with her own tell-all, describing how Natalie had bullied younger employees and stolen credit for their work. The woman I'd married was being revealed as someone I'd never really known, a narcissist who'd used and discarded people her entire career. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "We need to talk, both of us. Tonight, 8 p.m., your apartment." N&E. Natalie and Eric wanted a final confrontation. I smiled and typed back, "Come on over, I'll be waiting." The storm hit at 7:30, turning the evening into something from a movie. Rain lashed against my apartment windows while thunder rolled overhead, and I couldn't help thinking how perfectly it matched the drama about to unfold. I'd prepared for this moment all week. The live stream was set up and ready to broadcast to my social media accounts. Dave was stationed across the street with a camera, just in case things got physical. and Tara had legal observers standing by, ready to document any threats or admissions. The knock came at exactly 8 o'clock, sharp, angry, demanding. I opened the door to find Natalie and Eric standing in the hallway, both soaked from the rain and radiating fury. They looked like a pair of drowned rats, their expensive clothes clinging to them, their carefully maintained appearances ruined by the weather. "Alex," Natalie said, pushing past me into the apartment, "we need to end this." Eric followed, water dripping from his overpriced suit onto my carpet. "You've had your fun. Now it's time to be reasonable." "Come in, make yourselves at home," I said, closing the door behind them. "Can I get you towels, coffee, or should we skip straight to the threats?" I activated the live stream with a subtle gesture, knowing that everything from this point forward would be recorded and broadcast to anyone following the story. "You destroyed our lives," Natalie said, her voice shaking with rage. "Do you understand that? I can't get a job anywhere in this city. People cross the street to avoid me. My own mother won't take my calls. That's what happens when people find out who you really are." Eric stepped forward, trying to use his height advantage again. "You think you're so smart, don't you? Playing your little games, hiding behind your computer screen, but you have no idea what you've unleashed. Enlighten me." "I've been in this business for 20 years. I have connections you can't imagine, friends in high places, people who owe me favors. Did you really think you could destroy me without consequences?" "So far, so good." Eric's face flushed red. "You smug little nobody. I could have you disappeared. One phone call and you'd be facing federal charges that would put you away for decades. Like you tried last week? How did that work out for you?" "That was just the beginning. I have resources." "You have nothing," I interrupted. "No job, no reputation, no friends. Your wife took half your assets in the divorce, and the other half is going to legal fees fighting harassment lawsuits. You're finished, Eric." He lunged at me then, grabbing my shirt and slamming me against the wall. "You little worm, I'll destroy you." "Eric, stop." Natalie grabbed his arm. "You're making it worse." But Eric was beyond reason. 20 years I've been building my career. 20 years. And this nobody with his pathetic little revenge fantasy thinks he can tear it all down. "I didn't tear anything down," I said calmly, knowing the cameras were capturing every word. "I just showed people what was already there. The lies, the manipulation, the abuse of power. All I did was turn on the lights." "You want to know the truth?" Eric snarled. "Your precious wife threw herself at me, begged me to sleep with her, said she'd do anything for a promotion. She was desperate, pathetic, willing to betray her own husband for a corner office." Natalie went white. "That's not true. You pursued me. You said you loved me." Eric laughed cruelly. "Love? You were a convenient distraction, a way to pass the time between real relationships. Did you actually think I'd leave my wife for you? You promised me. I promised you nothing. You heard what you wanted to hear." And there it was, the final betrayal. Eric turning on Natalie, revealing the truth about their relationship in his desperate attempt to shift blame. Natalie stared at him in horror, finally understanding how completely she'd been used. "You said I was special," she whispered. "You were special, specially stupid, just like Jennifer and Michelle and all the others. You all thought you were different. You all thought you could manipulate me." He turned back to me. "But your husband here, he actually succeeded. He played the game better than any of us." The admission hung in the air like a confession. Eric had just confirmed everything, the pattern of abuse, the manipulation, the serial exploitation of female employees. "So what now?" I asked. "You came here to threaten me, to make me pay for exposing you. But what can you actually do? Your career is over. Your marriage is over. Your reputation is destroyed. You have no power left." Eric's composure finally cracked completely. "I'll make you pay. Both of you. You think this is over? I'll spend every penny I have left hunting you down." "With what money? Your wife froze your accounts, remember?" Natalie suddenly turned on me, her face twisted with rage. "You self-righteous bastard. You act like you're so much better than us, but you're worse. At least we were honest about what we wanted." "Honest? You lied to me for months. You tried to destroy my reputation with fake screenshots. You gaslit me into thinking I was paranoid and jealous. How is any of that honest?" She raised her hand to slap me again, but I caught her wrist. "I wouldn't," I said quietly. "Everything is being recorded and broadcast live. The whole city is watching." She looked around wildly, finally noticing the camera equipment, the red recording light, the laptop screen showing viewer comments streaming by. "You're live streaming this?" "Every word, every threat, every admission. It's all going out live to social media and being recorded for posterity." Eric went pale. Turn it off. Turn it off right now. Why? Afraid people will see who you really are? Too late for that, don't you think? Thunder crashed overhead, and the lights flickered. In that moment of darkness and chaos, with rain pounding against the windows and my destroyed marriage finally laid bare, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Peace. You want to know the difference between us, I said, looking directly into the camera. You both thought you were playing chess while I was playing checkers. You thought I was some pathetic, trusting husband who'd never figure out what was happening. But I was 3 moves ahead of you the entire time. Natalie and Eric stood there dripping and defeated, their carefully constructed lies finally exposed to the harsh light of truth. The game is over, I continued. You both lost. And unlike your victims, I made sure the whole world got to watch. As if on cue, car doors slammed outside. Through the window, I could see news vans pulling up, reporters running through the rain with cameras and microphones. Someone had tipped off the media about the live stream. Eric and Natalie looked at each other in horror, realizing they were trapped. They could stay and face the reporters, or run and look even more guilty. They chose to run. I watched from my window as they fled into the storm, pushing past journalists and camera crews, their expensive clothes soaked, their dignity in tatters. Dave appeared in my doorway, grinning and holding his camera. Did you get all that? I asked. Every second. This is going to be legendary. I turned back to the livestream camera for my closing statement. Lesson for the day, folks. Never play chess with someone who's been watching you stack the board. I reached over and turned off the camera, ending the broadcast at the moment of perfect victory. The story was over. Justice had been served, and for the first time in months, I was exactly where I wanted to be.